Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I just wanted to stop in to see how everyone's doing. I hope everyone is doing great. I do want to talk briefly about the changes within the Jehovah Witness organization. Many of you have heard that the organization has made some changes in a number of things. The beard policy for the guys, especially in the United States. I mentioned in one of my previous videos that that was a question that I had: why the brothers couldn't wear beards. Now it appears that they can wear beards with this new change. The time before, it was one of the requirements to go out in the ministry, but they have shortened that or eliminated the time. Although I'm not quite sure, I do still see the Jehovah Witness with the cart witnessing. So after these change, I don't know the effective date of this change, especially with the time, but I still see cart witnessing. Um, every so often. So, I'm not quite sure about that. Um, the big change, in my opinion, is regarding the disfellowship ones. Um, Before, as many of you know, that it was frowned upon. You couldn't speak to disfellowship ones within the current if they attend the congregation. Uh, they have made this change. I find it interesting that at this time in this stage that they are making these changes. Is it because there is a mass exit out of the for people leaving the organization and not returning? Is this a manipulative tool they're using, especially with the fellowship ones and family members, especially if you have a close or you had a close relationship with your family and you were disfellowship, or one of your family members were disfellowship? That's that's a hard knock right there when you're isolated from your loved ones, from your community. So I can see that with that change, I can see that persons who are disfellowship will probably return to get that close knit family, that family relationship restored. To me, this is a manipulative mechanism that the governing body is using to prevent people from leaving and to get people to return back to the organization. If Jehovah, they have always mentioned Jehovah does not change. So why now, if these rules that were in place all these years was in place based on their communication with Jehovah, why the change now? Granted, although I'm no longer a Jehovah's Witness, I can see myself, if I was still an active member within the organization, being pleased with these changes, because especially the time, devoting the time in the ministry, that was, I don't want to say it like this, but that was sort of a burden to me. Um, Having to do a certain amount of time in the ministry. So these changes, I can see, if I can put myself in the members' shoes at this point, who are still in the organization, is still happy within the organization, that these changes are well welcomed. I understand that, but this is a manipulative tool by the organization. There's with all the dirt that's coming out, um, the abuse and the other things that's coming out about the organization, people are leaving. This is a manipulative tactic from the organization. And I say that, from a business standpoint, I understand. The members of the congregation are their customers. I was once their customer. If you lose customers, you're losing your business. So I understand the reasoning behind these changes. But I'm not, I'm trying to think of the right word. I just feel for some of the people who may fall into their trap, so to speak. And they're using the family bond to entrap people in the organization, to remain in the organization, to come back. I just find it interesting. If Jehovah, they prophesy, they preach that Jehovah has never changed, and these rules was based on their conversation with Jehovah, and you said Jehovah doesn't change. So why now? What is the reason for the change now? And I'm about to go on a tangent here. In one of my past videos, I mentioned that um, the organization, well, the congregations that I attended, they looked at your time and determined based on the amount of hours you perform each month, your your standing within the organization. It may be a good thing. Let me just take that back, not a rant. It may be a good thing because that was a hindrance to me, in a sense, whereas I felt like I had to do a certain amount of time, and if I couldn't do it, which most cases I couldn't, I didn't do the 10-hour requirement, minimum requirement at that time. I was looked as spiritually weak. I had a low standing within the organization. So now I'm playing the fence. I understand. On one hand, these changes are good for members, active members within the organization. On the other hand, now that I'm out of the organization, I had some time to think about and decompress all that I have been through and I have learned or was taught within the organization. I see this as a manipulative tool by the governing body for their own selfish purposes. For their own selfish purposes. That's how I see it. And I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I think the changes are good. On one hand, the changes are good for persons within the organization, for persons that were suffering, who were feeling guilty, who was feeling unworthy or not worthy. I think it's a good thing. I think, if you're going to stay there, if you could be happy with any aspect of it, I understand that. But on the other hand, on the other side, this is a strategy by the governing body. Plain and simple. They don't want to lose their customers. No customers, no business. That's how I see it. Until next time, take care.